Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council Budget Work Session. It is Monday, May 23rd. It is approximately 6:15 p.m. We will call the meeting to order. I will turn it over to Ms. Hayes. I see we have a presentation by the Twin Rivers Golf Club. Before we even get into that, I was going to bring up why we're even having this presentation. So if somebody can give me an answer, and let's see if the council is even interested in this at this point.
Yes, Mayor. One of the things that back in April we approved, our City Council approved the mediation plan for Twin Rivers Golf Course, and one of the stipulations in that agreement is that the owner has to maintain and operate the golf course as a bona fide golf course for 9 months, and basically it's while the city is doing its administrative in creation of entitlements on the city property for the property owner. And we started looking at what happens at 9 months in 1 day, and how do we make sure that there is a seamless transition from the current owner to the city. We started looking at different things as far as how we could operate the golf course. One of the ways of doing that is to outsource the golf course and bring in a management company that would be responsible for the management and also the maintenance of the course. Integrity Golf, who is here tonight, they currently operate the Sanford Golf Course. And Mr. Groot was kind enough to reach out to them to have, and what we talked about with them was the services that they provide. We wanted to give you an idea of the types of services that a management and maintenance company could come in and provide. There are all kinds of different options. Through this 9-month period, we're going to look at all the different options.
This is a brief presentation?
Yes, sir.
Brief, right?
How brief would you like it to be?
Brief.
Okay. Has everyone read the charts? Yeah. So, yeah. I've read them too, so we know what you're going to say, so go ahead and say it.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it real brief. And that is, I had the same presentation that I needed to conduct in front of the councilmen and women over at Sanford, and what are they going to do with the golf course? They're going to do, they were basically it was given back to them because the lease EMA was not performing. There was a lot of turmoil, and they were stuck not knowing what to do with the golf course. And that's where we kind of stepped in and proved to them that the golf course not only can be an integral part of the fabric of the community, but it also can be financially sustainable and actually profitable if managed correctly, through a company like ours or some of the ones that are out there. It doesn't come with a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, but I could tell you if you talk to the folks at Sanford, also if you talk to the folks at Castleberry, we've helped them through their transition as they purchased the golf course there from what I believe the same group that is looking to sell Twin Rivers. It's a lot of success stories there to be shared on many levels. And it's not just all about making money, it's really about being a part of the community. I'm a product of junior golf. When I was a teenager, the folks behind me, Dorothy Benson, our Executive VP of Sales and Marketing, Ed Wally, our CFO who lives here in Oviedo, and Tana Mellonton, we're all products of junior golf. And if it wasn't for us being able to practice and play and be able to come to a facility like a Twin Rivers or others, that we played at, who knows where my life would have been. So you look at, the fact that, I was able to go out there and play golf and hit a little white golf ball, but it created a lot more opportunities than just, the game of golf. It created a lifestyle, created a career, created an education, and being a part of my community, which I still am to this day, and giving back. So I would look at, the council and really the residents of the community and realize that golf is not just, a rich, white man, rich sport anymore. It's about being a part of the community, and that's what our company does and does very well. And I would just recommend you reach out to the folks over at Sanford and Castleberry and really understand what we've been able to do to really bridge that gap between hitting that white golf ball and making a difference in people's lives. So I don't want to bore you. I want to be brief and respectful, even though the mayor you mentioned Snickers earlier, my stomach hasn't stopped growling, so thank you for that. But I'll be glad to answer any questions. I would say, as you go through the process, we're all local. We live here in the community. This is what we do every single day of our lives. I would ask that if you do go through this process, whether you go through and purchase the course or not, that you engage, someone like us that can actually, stand side by side with you going through this process, vetting it, evaluating it, keeping an eye on the facility, making sure that, come 9 months and day number 1, that you're ready to go and you can take advantage of owning a golf course in a great community like Oviedo.
Any questions from council? No? Good.
Sure. I don't have any questions. I think we want to discuss this for a few minutes.
Yeah, why don't you just hang out? Any comments from council?
I think this is okay as far as I'm concerned to get a presentation like this, but I think it's the first step in a long process. We probably need to vet this and make it a competitive, either concessionaires agreement or some sort of agreement like that. But I agree with you, Brian, you need to start now because 9 months will come very quick. So I do appreciate you coming over and giving us the information.
Anything else from council?
No, I appreciate all the work that you put into this. Very nice. I think it's a little premature because I think we still need to talk about exactly what we're going to do here, and if we are going to keep it a golf course or if we're going to make it a pond or stormwater pond storage area or just a park. I think that discussion has to be done pretty soon.
Mr. Mayor? If I can ask, for both Castleberry and Sanford, I mean, there are different situations that they're in. When did you get involved in the process? And a little brief, when did you get involved in the process and how did you?
It's a great question. With Sanford, it was after the city had taken it back over, and actually city staff were actually running the golf course, and they couldn't wait to have us get in there and run the facility. Castleberry, we were able to get in there several weeks prior to the takeover. Would have been great if we can come in there sooner because there's a lot of things that we could have helped them along the way that kind of would have just put them in a better position, going through the negotiation process. Going through this myself, being a buyer of golf courses, I understand what to look for, what to ask for, and I would be working on behalf of the city to make sure you guys get the best deal possible.
I see Savannah's, that's a municipal course?
Yeah, it's actually Savannah's is owned by the Brevard County. They have 2 other golf courses that we took over the management earlier this year. Habitat, Valkyria, and Spessart Holland, and 2 other courses.
Tell me about Temple Terrace. That's close to USF, correct?
Yeah. And thanks for bringing that up because one of the things we have learned being a part of the community is being able to connect through sales and marketing to different universities, different schools, different community services. And Temple Terrace is owned by the city of Temple Terrace. It was being managed by the membership there, and as great as those people are, they were doing a fantastic job. That's not what they do for a living. So they were operating at the deficit, and we came in there, and now we're managing that golf course for the city, working side by side with the board members, but it's really us that are making the decisions and running that club for them.
An important question is, at a profit or at a break even? You said a deficit, so
Yeah.
as the deficit moves up, then you shorten the deficit?
At Temple Terrace, not yet. We've only been here for a short period of time.
Okay.
Typically, we find golf courses, it takes, depending on deferred maintenance and some of the challenges or obstacles we might be facing, about a 2-year process. Some golf courses actually more than a couple handfuls, we've been able to turn around in less than a year. But depending on the situation, location is always key. Twin Rivers is a great location. The support that we would get from the city, from UCF and all the the different people involved, I don't see that being a 2-year turnaround.
but not knowing really the deferred maintenance that are out there, we would have to take a look at that, which that would be part of our, the process that we would want to, undergo with you and say, let's go through and really evaluate it, not so much as, some of the golf associations or bodies that are out there that are very good at what they do, but I can tell you from an owner standpoint, someone that lives and works and plays in this area, what is it going to take so that, we can stand in front of everyone, the whole, city, and say, this is a good decision for us, this is how it's going to benefit, how we're going to benefit from it, and this is what you should all expect, and how long it's going to take for us to be profitable and do the things we need to do.
Mayor, could I, just one thing. When we met with Gene, one of the things that he also told us about is that they could help us get to 9 months in one day, that they could come in and do an assessment. One of the big concerns that I have is that the mediation settlement agreement says that it's as is, as of the date of the agreement. And how one of the things that's been weighing on my mind is how do we make sure that what we receive 9 months in one day is as of the date of the agreement in April. Because if you think about 9 months away, that's January. And so that was something that they also mentioned. One of their services is that they could help us get to the point of taking it over, even if we decided to go a different way. We could do that.
That's a good point, Mr. Powell. Making sure that certain maintenance practices are being done, making sure that the staff, when we go in there, we're making sure that we're evaluating the staff and making sure we have everything in place. Because 9 months in one day puts us in February, which is in the middle of golf season, here in this area.
How do you typically run your contracts? Is it revenue share or monthly fee?
It could be both. Typically it's a monthly fee. I mean, I'm the owner of the company, and we look to partner, with the cities, municipalities that we work with.
Well, a partnership would be a revenue share, not a monthly fee.
Well, we could do profit sharing. I mean, we could do a percentage of revenues. I would say probably more than a dozen of our facilities out of the 31 that we have operate with some sort of true partnership, if you want to point it that way, where it's a percentage of sales after the course becomes profitable or after we get to a certain threshold.
So you don't want to take on any of the risk?
No, we could. Twin Rivers is a great facility, great location with the right management. It could be a home run for the city. And I would love to participate in that.
Okay.
And it could be one of those things where, like the city of Sanford.
I'll be honest, it doesn't matter to me what anybody else did. My question to you is, if we continue through this, and this is just speaking for me, my partner is going to take on the risk. So prepare yourselves for that. Others may feel different.
Of the,
I would be your partner. I would do that.
That's good.
take a deep breath, it's all good. This is just new to us and everything's good. You're all welcome, everything's good. But I have a question. Of the 31 courses that you have, how many of them are profitable to date? Do you know?
No, I do. My CFO is sitting right here next to me, so he can tell you. What is it? We have half a dozen that aren't profitable right now.
So only 6 of 31 are not profitable yet.
Right.
So you've turned these other ones around. Well, we know it's not easy. I tend to agree with you. We're in a great spot. Twin Rivers could be a great course with the right tweaks to it. I think, having sat next to the mayor for so long, I think the reservation is all new. We have an agreement that the ink isn't dry yet. We certainly need some guidance out there. I think we'd like to see it, be one of the better ones out there. A lot of people say golf is dead. Golf's dead because it's expensive and the course ain't as good when it wants. If you tweak the prices and everything, you get it to be where it becomes popular again. But I think we just might have been a little premature today. But knowing that you guys are out there, your PowerPoint I read, I think is pretty impressive. A lot of people had entrusted their courses to you. I think you did a good job with. We're certainly not going to have Drew go out there and take care of it because he'll have a heart attack and just die on the spot. So, we need some help, but we're kind of finding our way a little bit. But I think the ultimate goal is to keep it that way, keep that sort of a jewel in our city the way it is, and I think we voted that way, but we've got to find out if our land swap works and if there's no other stuff. But certainly, I think you guys could be in the conversation, and if Mr. Groot and Mr. Colbert sent you our way, we know they looked out for us. But we got a lot of questions and a lot of things we have to do. My question is, looking at Twin Rivers, not knowing, the infrastructure and everything, I mean, you think it can be profitable fairly soon?
Oh, yeah.
Like right off the bat? Because, I mean, when you're in government, you don't look to, you look to cover your cost and maybe have a little more for a rainy day fund. But, I've always believed, if you have people that own it and manage it, that care about it, it will be, it will be fine.
Amen to that. And
Yeah.
This is my livelihood. This is our livelihood. And if I could, Mr. Mayor, Sanford, I approached them. I know, Oviedo's going to do their own thing, and they're going to do it right. At Sanford, I wanted to lease the property from them. They just went through just a horrid experience with leasing the golf course. So they were not going to go down that road. So what did? I put my money where my mouth is, and I said, Mayor Triplett, I said, I'll go ahead. If I can't turn this thing around, I will cut my fee in half. Okay? And it's low enough to begin with because we're local, and it's easy for us to get here. But I was willing to do that. Now we're actually in discussions with them, possibly leasing the golf course from them, because we have made it turn it around, and I'm kind of holding them to it. I said, if I turn it around, we're going to have that discussion again, right? Because I do believe in what you said. It's important that people like us to have skin in the game, and you guys all do. Your residents will be there. Okay, this is your city, and so I can completely agree, and I'm right there with you. It's important that people you partner with have skin in the game, and we're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
Sounds good.
One more question, I'm going to go off topic almost, but there's only two that stand out to me that are odd, Crab Mountain and Big Sales. Who's the Long Islander? There you go. Okay.
Well, my mom's up
You
there.
couldn't tell?
My mom's up there. She's an East Patchogue, so she said, you got to get something close to here to come by and visit. So, yeah, thanks. You called me out on that one.
Did you grow up in Patchogue?
No, I grew up in South Florida. I'm a Floridian, but my family's up and down the East Coast. So my wife's from Boston. Anyone?
That's the wrong thing to say at this table.
He just visited here.
But I'm a New Yorker, so I'm sorry.
We're all on Islanders, the three of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I would just say, just if anybody disagrees, I think we need to have further discussions. We're just trying to let the ink dry what Mr. Cobb and Mr. Groot just negotiated. We think we got, a pretty good, situation, but how it's going to be run, how much money we're going to make, as the mayor pointed out, the revenue sharing, skin in the game, all that stuff needs to be worked out, for you and the staff and then to bring to us. But certainly we want to make that successful and better than it is, because I think it can be great.
Totally agree. And please, we're neighbors, so rely on us. You can just pick up the phone and like they've done. We've had some great discussions because this is an important decision. It's not a little bit of money here. This is a lot. And it's, so we'll be glad to be as honest and truthful and as transparent as we
So
can.
just in closing, you got Castleberry and Sanford on the way.
Oh, yeah. Mayfair, Sanford, definitely on the way. Castleberry, we just took over, and I tell you, we're great partners.
Those guys are thrilled, I can tell you that. They've been very happy every time we see them.
Good.
My issue with the discussion tonight, and I can appreciate what staff is trying to do, but, talk about cart in front of the horse. So,
It's a little early.
as the councilwoman pointed out. So, thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All righty, guys, as I had mentioned, I have to leave this evening, so I will leave the deputy mayor, actually, I'm going to leave councilwoman in charge.
Leave her in charge, she's good.
There you go, Cindy. It is yours.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
You guys find out who's going to be in charge. Robin, I will catch up with you on this during the week. We've discussed a lot of it already.
Okay.
And good luck all.
Thank you, sir.
We'll hand it right back.
And if you'll be patient with me one moment, I'll pull the boards over since we kind of had a different setup tonight.
Have fun.
What am I going to do? We'll talk about the city.
Exactly. We had a previous situation.
I'm going to tell everybody everything that's great's happening, let more of us know, everything you don't like, let one of us know. Good night, everyone.
With our spouses, of course.
Me too. That might take you up.
But you are the deputy mayor. You are the deputy mayor.
Okay. In the memo, I talk about several different things in presenting to you tonight and through the city manager. And I kind of wanted to just run through it. I don't normally speak from the memo, but I don't want to miss a few of the things. And I actually don't have an attachment for every item that we mentioned. And again, I'll try to be brief and quick about it because we did put a lot of the information in the memo. I wanted to mention that, as you're aware, the last 3 years, we've been using very similar schedules at each meeting. And those schedules are also represented in the budget book. And we try to make sure that we're showing to the citizens all of the data as we finalize. So we're trying to be very transparent. So we will continue that process. So sometimes you'll see the budget book grow a little bit. It's from these type of schedules we're putting out there and to make them available to our citizenry as they read the budget book. For those who may wish to look at that or use it as a tool, usually is what it is. In the very first attachment, we talk about, in the memo referencing it, we talk about positions. And I want to mention there's a couple that we have. We have the Assistant City Manager and Communications PIO position. We have placed these two positions as FTE, otherwise full-time equivalent positions in the budget for the last couple years. But as we go through the budget process, due to the funding, we actually end up extracting the dollars, but we leave the FTE, so that it's still a decision that we can, during the year of May, to fund that position if that's what we choose to do. The last couple of years, I've shown it the same way, so I'm not doing anything different than what I have. I'll give you an idea of the estimated cost for the Assistant City Manager and within Management Services, the PIO position that resides there. So we have done that again this year. And we were just looking for any direction from the council as we go through these. If you have input, to please stop me, and I'll go on or wait or whatever you wish for me to do at that point in time. The other thing we have done is, as in past years, we show the current year, 15-16, and then the estimated year and the impact to it. We've talked about in the past couple of years the 2% the salary COLA. So this year we've been put in there for the city manager a 2% to load in to see what we can do for our employees. So we have general, meaning all general employees. So that's everybody other than police and fire. Police and fire 2% also, but we just separate them out so that you can see the dollar amounts. And then we actually have in there the pension too, because there's always an effect to the pension based on the actuary impact. And we actually had a decrease this year to both funds, so that's a benefit to the general fund. The years it's an increase, the general fund picks that up. So there's never an impact to the department budget on that. The general fund does pick that difference up either way. So sometimes folks don't realize that when they look at it, they think the department has to pay the difference. They don't. General fund, at this point in time anyway, does fund that. So those are the current employee changes that we have. I did mention a minute ago we have the 2 new officers we funded through impact fees. Police impact fees last year began January of this year. I think the chief's pretty close to filling those positions, or has filled them.
They have been filled.
Okay. So those positions are paid for out of impact fees this year, police impact fees. In October 1, they become general fund employees. So they'll be paid for out of the general fund. So this amount represents the dollar amount hit to the general fund at that point in time, but paid for an entire year versus where it's currently residing. I will say that the equipment purchase was out of the impact fee funds, so that just obviously rolls with them, but the salary amount will roll into the general fund next year. So that's the impact of the general fund. Okay. So then we have the general operating expenditures. And these are just as of today. We've been having our meetings, as you're aware, with the city manager, with each department, and this is where we stand at this point in time. We're still tweaking them. These are budgets that we tweak as we go right up until you kind of give us a final okay at the end of August, really. But what we did is we did equate the millage rate associated to the budget as a percent, as a millage rate of the total, so you can kind of see what they're operating. Now, this is not personnel involved. So when you look at, I'll go to police department, fire department, these are only operating dollars. They're not their personnel involved. So those have very heavy personnel costs, so that's not going to be representative. Where here, Parks and Rec, they have a large operating budget, the personnel department or personnel side of it is a lesser amount than the other division. So when you look at these, we'll also have to take into account, which will give you us a final schedule, the personnel side of that. These are the accounting streams that that we end up cutting and adjusting at this point in time, and that's the reason we thought we would just show that to you as a whole so that you can see this change. I know Councilmember Britt brought up last time my deficit down here, and of course we still have it. It's getting smaller. It's even smaller than that as of today, okay? But we adjust the budgets here, of course adjust it here. But the big impact, I'm going to skip over to this attachment, still part of one, if you don't mind, from the revenue side. Okay? So it's the first page of attachment 1. And we kind of walked you through, we said, okay, this is our current budget, $28 million. Here's our estimated taxes. We don't have anything from the property appraiser yet. As Mr. Jones mentioned earlier, we're expecting it this week, or first part of next week. But we've anticipated a 5% moderate amount, very modest in that respect. In the past years, we've been 6 plus, okay? So, but we don't know. So we don't know what the numbers are yet. So we went with 5%. So we're showing that as an increase. So that's the new estimated. And some of the other attachments break it down a little bit more. We show you the geo millage rollover. This amount is the dollar amount equated to if we kept the millage rate exactly the same as we currently are at 5.0434. If we kept it the same and rolled the savings we had on the geo to a total available. That's what that 29,000 is. And I'll go into that just a little bit more detail in a few moments. So our ad valorem projections a total of 597,000. Our revenue adjustments that we're aware of right now, utility service fees, franchise fees, a little bit of an increase, license and permits, a little bit of an increase. But this intergovernmental revenue here, this is the grant we received from the state last year. So we've already have to reduce $400,000 because that grant's not coming back. That was a one-time money. We have charges for services. These are fees that are associated in development services in the sense that we can look and see what's going to happen into next year as far as permits. We call them the quality control fees. We've got the school resource officer. So these are two adjustments that we will have. Of course, if we go with the additional officers in school, that's the additional money we'll receive on the school resource officer. And then we have another small reduction in the other account. But then we have the recreational programs. This 383 is reduction. That's because if you recall at mid-year, we brought to you an equal adjustment of expenditures and revenues that stated we had not had ticket costs at Oviedo Park, so we had to reduce the revenue and we reduced expenditure costs. So we had estimated last year, apologize for this, $602,000 for Oviedo Park for ticket sales and rentals and any other costs that roll into Oviedo Park. We've reduced that from 602 to 202. So that's a cut of 383 to the budget. And that's one of the discussion items we have before you tonight is, should we have ticket sale costs, as a revenue portion included in the budget? Otherwise, if we have an event at the park, are you expecting us to sell tickets for that to the community, or are we going to assume that as a operating cost of the city? So right now, we've reduced it to 202 because that's about what our rentals come in at, just maybe a little bit below that.
Well, either way, we're going to have to be prepared to do it. So if we're going to be prepared to do an event, we're going to sell tickets and not selling tickets. We're going to cancel the event and incur a whatever cost or run the event. And you know what I mean? We're going to have to be, if we're going to do events, we're going to have to be prepared to do the event.
How did they sell tickets? I guess we got a good example from the recent thing. How did they sell tickets at the event a couple weeks ago?
I can tell you, last year we had a couple events, first part of the fall, and we had the events. We paid for them. That was a city cost. So not that those were entirely part of this, but that was that started the conversation. What do we wish to do? And then I'll let Drew pick up from where we currently are.
Our event organizer, Sublime, that we went in with conjunction with on the Bacon Bourbon Blues, we did that online through their online service. So, and that's something we're looking to do further because, for example, Sublime, they have their an online service. So we're looking to possibly utilize their services for anything in the future we might do, regardless if it's a direct conjunctional or just utilizing the online service. So that's...
Looks like we had a big crowd there, and all of those were ticket-paying customers?
either prior or the day of, yeah.
So how do they, that's where I was curious.
What's the net, what was the net end?
Yeah, we're finalizing it still, we're receiving, I'll have about 4 additional expenses I've got to get, our beer sale, our invoices coming tomorrow. We should be around, for ourselves, after expenses, we should receive somewhere around $4,000 from that event, our cut, after all expenses are covered.
How do you control the entrance, did you fence it off?
We barricaded the entire areas, yeah. And that's what we have planned for even future events that we do ourselves. We will do a lot. We had 3 ticket locations. It would be very similar. Actually, we also have planned future events where we actually even squeeze it down tighter to where we don't necessarily have to shut the roadway off.
I think to really have a big discussion on this is to have a really big discussion, and I mean that, and how are we going to do this? Because that was a great event, you know, and then get into, did we do it ourselves? Did we do the programming ourselves? Do you feel we could do more? Was it our advertising? Was it Sublime? Because I know Sublime was out there doing advertising. Do we, you know, we don't have a person yet, how? So I think there's a lot of moving parts on that question, you know, for us, and really saying, well, $202,000 we're invested in, that's, you know, we're going to have to invest in something to put on some programming. Do we invest more or less? And do we expect to make that up or not?
Well, now, this 200 is pretty much the rentals, okay, with a few dollars.
It's just the rental
So
part.
anything above
So that's just
that, that's just rentals.
That's just the wedding and rentals?
Yes.
Okay.
And a few events that are
Right,
having,
right.
you know, a conference that may be down there. So,
Right.
and that's not asking a lot from that, so.
Yeah, one of the things I want to point out, our last 2 events, one that was done by the city, Bark and Brew, on both of them, we've covered all of our expenses
Yeah.
and made money.
They're both very successful, and that's what I'm saying. So, you know, I guess if, you know, we'll have to have some seed money that we're willing to roll, and again, we're going to roll it, and if Bark and Brew wasn't successful, and we're, you know, getting the remainder. But we have the 202, you're saying, we have no real seed money at this point. We're not really utilizing any money out there that's out there as our base money to say, well, we need our upfront $15,000 to get these guys in to make sure we cover and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to hope to make it up, and this is how the plan is, but we got nothing.
Well, now, within this operating budget, this rent a park, we actually have 22 projects, or 22 events.
Right.
Events
So
planned.
within that, we're expecting to pay for those.
The Bark and Brew and the blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah, and all the concerts and all
Right,
that.
right.
It's just, we're not expecting a return on it yet.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So in that respect.
That's okay, that's what I need.
Positive.
I'm doing that and saying, you know, those 2 events were very positive, and if we can start doing them you know, doing that way and get an event coordinator if we need it, or, again, partner with Sublime or others that get those 104 or else whoever it is to get the advertising, because that's where we have to do. We can't possibly just putting up a sign out front isn't going to get the group that came in, you know, isn't going to get the crowd that we had the other night.
Exactly.
You know, because that was a great crowd. But if we can make even, you know, $4,000 or $5,000, that's cake to me.
If we look at 22 events.
And that covers all, you know, those 22 events are being paid for. If they're being paid for, we're making money at that point. Then it's money we're not expending, and anything above that. So even if we're getting...
Yeah, because any amount we assume as
Right.
ticket sales over the 22 events reduces this deficit
Right.
amount here, because it's not anything I'm looking at this point in time. We just need to know, and we'll bring it back to you in June with a list of the events and some more
Right.
details, of course. Are we going in the right direction? Do we want to try to have the ticketed events? Do we want to assume a dollar amount on the revenue and then bring it back to you at mid-year? Or do we want to bring the revenue back to you after each event and let you recognize the revenue at that point in time and balance the budget without the revenue? And that's kind of the decision that we're asking from you. And maybe that's in June. Maybe I have to give you more information.
Yeah, I think we'd have to see the events and understand, you know, again, those 2 are great events, and I think successful-wise, those are easily seen as success, and similar events will probably be just as successful.
See, that event, Drew, you had lots of different moving parts to it. You know, it wasn't just one person singing or whatever. But if you notice, if you watch TV lately, you see like Daytona Beach was having a concert. I forgot who it was, the free concert. One I just went to last week down in Orlando, big place, free concert. So I think what you're going to have to do is have a mix. You know, most people are not going to... We've had some experience with a Grammy winner out here, and it was very difficult to get sales of tickets, you know. certain things just don't appeal to certain people. So I think you got to have a mix. If you have some of those budgeted, I mean, we have this park. It's our responsibility to give some decent shows at our expense to the citizens because it's their park. They voted for it. So I think we do that. But I think when you get your event coordinator, Drew and I were talking, and Brian last week, about the type of event coordinator we need, you know, picking from a Las Vegas or somebody who's done this with big stars. Now, if you had somebody really big out there, it'd be very easy to sell tickets. You'd pack that lawn. But somebody that is a niche performer, they're not going to sell, 2,000 tickets. So we're going to have to be, like Councilman Shank said, we're going to have to eat that. But I think you got to go for those big.
We already are. The 22, we're already budgeted for it.
Yeah.
And like I said, but you'll have a better idea in June.
Yeah.
For us more,
That's correct.
what the listing is, so we can understand that, and then see if we want to bring in some profit and say, hey, we can acknowledge the revenue, but we'll know better in June if we want to acknowledge the revenue.
Right. I mean, that's why you're looking at almost $1 million just in recreation budget, is because it includes $1 million at Oviedo in the park of expenses.
How are we programming those 22 events you got? Like, who's figuring that out? Who's going to come in there? Is that leaving that all on board, Drew?
Well, let's move into the events we've had over.
Yeah, and basically, presently, myself and staff, we've been meeting with a lot of different event organizers. So we're looking to partner right now with 4 different event organizers to do things, as well as radio stations and other groups that might be able to throw money and bring in artists without possible fees directly, to come to the city.
And if we're looking at $100,000 this year, then next year we can hope that that'll double. And as the events become more popular and as they see that their value, I think that's the other thing, that it just takes, it's kind of like anything, it takes a couple of years to prove the point that we have good quality events down here to come to our events. But in the meantime, we have covered the expenditures.
And it's just recognizing in the budget that we might make a profit, we're hoping to make a profit on some of them, how much. So.
Well, that was the big concern was last year when we adopted the budget, we had a revenue listed in there for ticketed events. And at mid-year, we had to come in and we had to take out. Yeah. And so that was the big concern, was that rather than
repeat that again.
We didn't want to repeat it, and I didn't want to balance the budget based on dollars that may not be there. And Robert and I have been discussing, well, maybe it would be better to allocate the costs, and then when we do a ticketed event, then reconcile the revenues after the event, and do it that way, or reconcile it mid-year if they occur before mid-year.
No, Drew, you said with the event you just had, you had this online thing with sales, and you saw how successful it was. When we tried the first couple ones, we printed them, we were kind of finding a way. We really need to get an online ticket sales for our stuff that we can just put on there. Somebody can click, put their credit card in, because that will make it so much better. I believe the first concept we had...
Wasn't the walk-up big, though, too?
Well, we did both
We did a
ways,
big
yeah.
walk-up. Yeah, the pre-sales wasn't, the walk-up was big. I know.
We did online as well as we sold out of the ticket office too, but we also we had a big walk-up that day.
Yeah, but do we...
And that's going to routinely happen.
One of these, I know you've been looking at, one that you like with these online, where it's not a Ticketmaster, but it's sort of a Ticketmaster type of thing.
Actually, Sublime, Mark, he does that, and one of the things I'm getting ready to put Mark in touch with Mr. Boob to see exactly how we can possibly tie in some situations through the city directly with Sublime, and they're interested in doing that. So we just got to see if we can tie everything in with our process.
Because we're going to be doing that stage forever. And when people get used to it, okay, so Joe blows out at Oviedo, I can go online, I get 2 tickets, and it's easy, and it's impulsive, people just get us. That's what we need. But we're on the right track. Certainly on the way.
That's the right way to do it right now. In June, we'll have the list, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so in June, I'll bring back the list of the formularies put together, and we'll just recap on this and see where we are.
See if there's any we want to pull out.
Right, and at the point in time, we'll leave this as is until we've had a chance to look at it, and of course, we'll have some more revenue numbers by that time. We had a deficit in the fines and forfeitures and miscellaneous. We did have a small increase due to some other things. And then the transfer of the police impact is for the debt, so.
Robin, if I remember our last meeting, we had about $1 million deficit. Now we're down a little bit over 500,000. Other than the ad valorem increase, how did you get that deficit down where you did?
I actually have to give credit to the departments for looking at their operating budgets as they each went through and looked at them and played with them and
So it's a
tweaked
little
them.
bit of it looks like it's just to add more, increase offsets, deficit.
Well, we have some one-time costs too that we pulled out, we had 300,000 and I would have to look at the list if we had the same, exact same dollars on there, which I would think we did. If you have, yeah, okay, the parking lot, yeah. So the grant expenses came out, so, and then the parking lot, but then a lot of it also is the department, so we probably didn't have this 300 on that one. At the time, we probably had not addressed it and looked at it because at that point it was pretty new. And we pulled over, typically we take out capital, one-time costs out of there automatically. And this one we probably didn't look at because it was a transfer, so we probably thought, well, it may still reside in next year's. It's just tweaking. And again, I think this is 573, and I think today we're about 510-ish, give or take. So we're even less than that now, and that's just from other departments. The other day, making some adjustments, and we're still not through all the departments yet. We still have some more to review. So we're not actually finished with general fund at this point. We still have the remaining 3 departments to look at. So Parks and Rec is not through at this point. So I still see some adjustments here. We can always make a choice. I mean, we have fleets. Yeah.
Go another year and keep the fleet a little longer.
Yeah.
28 million, 10% is that, 2.8, 5% is half of that, so you're almost like around 2%.
That's correct.
But the CR, but I'll give you the 200,000, 220 sitting in the CRA that we just talked about earlier, that.
Well, and I'd like to say something real
Yeah.
quickly about that. The police services he mentions, keep in mind that, and I'm not suggesting any one way, but we actually actually have not funded services down there, so that would be a new function if you chose to do that. Some of the other maintenance things are new that we may not have planned on. So, we had 400,000 from the state this past year, and that really brought quite a bit down at the park for the culture center. And another couple $100,000. Again, you can define what those costs would be, and you can make choices. So, if you want to put a audio system on the small stage, which we don't have anything right now, that's a choice. If you want to do something else at the Veterans Memorial, that's a choice. So that would be money that you could choose. I know it said maintenance, but you could still make a choice on where that went in that park budget. But that was just kind of something I know he mentioned.
I'm saying those guys who were sitting here earlier, they were a little bit picky and throwing the 220, so I just wanted to make sure we were recognizing that some of that money may be rolling over too. So.
I mean, at this point in time, the Oviedo Park's about 1.2 million. So those are all costs that the general fund has accepted over the last couple of years that were not funded from anything else. So those funds would have gone other places. So yes, if you supplement that with, into that fund.
When we see the details, Robin, of that 220 that you talk about in the CRA, I think at face value, we all kind of agree, we shouldn't be funding, recurring stuff from CRA stuff, we should be building things, whatever. But as you see the details,
Well, listen, I just want to bring up again the other hat budget. This is the other hat budget that we could see some of those costs rolling over, or we want to bring some of them. That's all.
Right.
Again, we'll go through that in June in the 6th, but it's this hat on. It may be a case of those guys who earlier were throwing the budget down the road to us, to this group. Well,
you could use them. Yes.
Right. I'll quickly go through these. Just the fleet. We brought this to you last year, if you recall, and I know I've brought it up several times. So I sound like a broken record, but bear with me. This was last year's 554. This year we're planning 878, and there's always possibility of trade-off. Okay, that we don't go with that. But Mr. Booth will bring to you in the summertime a debt consideration for the fleet that we have purchased in 14-15 and 15-16. We mentioned last year at the budget meeting in the transmittal letter, we had to receive, all the cars had to be received, we had to receive all the documentation before we could go out to debt. And this would be about $2.2 million and includes the cost of issuance for that. And he'll bring that to you, but I just kind of like to bring that up as a reminder when you see that on the agenda item, sometime probably July or August, as to what that is. And this 878 will actually be funded from the revenue coming in from the departments that will be paying at 100% of their amortization schedule by that point in time. Up until this point, we finally have the 60-65% this year. When we looked at this 3 or 4 years ago, we were at 30 and 45%. So the departments are not paying what they needed to pay, which is why the fund has become a situation where Mr. Booth's had to go out for debt to pay for the last 2 years. So we hope to correct that issue and going forward. On the health side, again, we brought this up each time at each of the meetings to make you very aware, as best we can, that the health insurance fund, at this point in time, I want to explain that the health portion here, we're at 2.45 in this year, 252. The 77,000 reflects the folks who initially do not sign up for benefits or who have a change in event and they sign up for benefits or they drop benefits. So we start out the year here, and during the year people add. You're looking at $9,200 for an employee-only benefit of health insurance. So, 7 employees roughly. It's not, 8 employees. It's not that many that may have changed. So that's this differential here. If you look at the rate increase, and I'm sure Mr. Booth would step up and say, give a few words if you needed him to, or even Ms. Collins, and I notice Gary's here. This 10% rate increase is reflected of the actuary report that we received on our health insurance. And it's actually at about 12%. The claims estimate is estimated at least probably around 10%, and that may have changed a little bit, so it may have changed since I created this report. But we're expecting some small increase. Now, what we've done, and I'll go through one of the attachment, health attachment, I believe is 4. We'll go through that in a moment, and I'll show that to you. And then if you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer that. Just kind of want to go through it here. The debt, as we brought to you each time, we've given you a little bit more information. We've had a little bit of increase on the governmental funds. We had an increase of about $276,000, and enterprise funds go down $300,000. Okay. So we have a little bit of change, but it's not very much. But we wanted to show you that 108 and 109 those are fire and recreation. They are not able to pay their debt out of the impact fees. So the general fund has to supplement those. Okay. These numbers are best guess as of today. We are receiving revenues in those funds, so that could go down, but that's as of today. This is the number that it appears that we may be funding next year's. So that could change. And then these are changes here, the transfers are the changes. As Kelly mentioned a moment ago, the $300,000 from Beyond the Park, we had that in the general fund transfer. Riverside Pool, we had a transfer. So a lot of these are going to reflect capital, stormwater. They're just little adjustments that we just show you, again, to try to be transparent as we can be. And then the reserves, the contingencies, just where we stated we were going to use $199 last year. We haven't stated we're going to use any fund balance this year because we're not at that point of balancing yet. But the one that we have added that is new is pay for performance. And all that is the payouts for the retirees that we have that have already told us they will be retiring either through the drop program or through regular program this next year. And the current policy states that we pay them out their vacation and wherever they may fall in the sick leave policy. So we have asked all the directors to ask their departments of those who may be eligible to retire, who will be retiring, and that's what we're planning right now, is $173,000. If there's someone in the drop program and they choose to wait another year, those funds stay in that account. They roll to the next year because they will be used, and we know they'll be used. But we felt like that you needed to see that as a separate line item and not just rolled into the salary line item, which is really difficult for me to see. So we set up an accounting stream for that specifically.
Any questions, guys?
Have a question for me? Okay.
Good.
Any questions?
I'll wait till you get to the attachment that I want to talk to you about, so. Good.
So if you give me a minute, we're going to change these out. I'm going to pull this one over here, though, so we can keep it out. Paul, will you pull that one like my colleague over here?
And you can thank your team while you're doing that.
Oh, they're
Like,
wonderful. You guys remember our team, Kelly Jones, Paul Belvin, Tracy Rodriguez. Yes, actually. Missy Cole, who's here, Linda Hall over here. And anyone else? So, they have, as always, they are wonderful, and they help out a lot. They spend a lot of time with us. Let's go ahead and bring 3 over, and that makes it a little easy. These are really perfect. Thank you. June will have them back on the board from the wall again. So. Thank you, Brian. Again, this one week we gave you the schedule.
You have the director, we're like a sandwich board. The director of the department has to walk over.
That would be cute, wouldn't it?
That's the weird.
We have taken the, just kind of giving you some estimates. If the tax rate changes. So, of course, we've got fed into the budget at this point in time 5%, but we just kind of wanted you to see what a 7% would look like, or a 4%. It could go up or down. We don't really know. But we feel pretty confident that it's going to be better than 5, but that's what we're budgeting at 5 until we receive the numbers again, and we'll get that information out to you. So what this does is it gives you an idea of the millage rate. Okay. If we adjust the millage rate at all. So in this first example here, the 50434 is the current balance millage rate. And so we kind of show you, okay, that it's 11 million, increase from the past year, 527. Again, some of this is the same information I had provided you in attachment 1. So we're just kind of showing you how it breaks down. That the total expenditure is 28.5 million. So at this point here, roughly. And the percent of the fund balance, what that would be, 4.2 million. As you recall, usually in June, I give you a listing of all the fund balances and let you look at those, be aware of those. And then each year, as the fund balance has to increase based on expenditures, the policy states that that our fund balance is established by our budgeted expenditures. So as this expenditure line item increases, the need to increase fund balance increases. So that's along after that. That's the next thing we usually look to do is we balance to our 15%, which is required by policy, and at least meet that minimum requirement. So we're giving you that information. We're looking at if we look at a home in the city of Oviedo, estimated home at $237,000 tax value. Their city taxes would be approximately $943 based on this year 5043 at 5.0434. If 1617 we go and do the adjustments based on the 5%, would bring it to about $951,000. That's about the only change you're going to see this year. Now, as you roll through this, let me see. As you roll through, if we increase the millage rate by any amount, and we've got a carrying of the millage rate, we just carry it across to show you the difference to the homes as we increase. Okay. Now, we didn't change a lot of this information here because we'll change that as we go through. We really just kind of wanted you to have an idea of the cost to the home and the effect of the home. And also, we're looking at, in some cases, I think we mentioned to you about the general obligation bond millage rate rollover. So that represents the 0.0136. Okay. So if we roll that in, kept it at 5.280, the 5.034 would become this. Millage rate for the GO bond reduces. We still don't exceed the 5.280, and we affect by $3. Okay. And then that would continue from every year from that point on. If you choose to do that. Sorry. And this one here, our millage rate 5.0434, the 2386 is the debt millage rate. We're just giving you an idea of what a mill is for 1516. We've done the same thing right here in 1617. Again, just giving you an idea of what a mill costs. We did a breakout to show you the dollar values of that also, so you can look at that. We budget currently at 96%. Statute states 95%. I would like to roll this year's budget out with a 95% instead of a 96%. The reason being, in this year's budget, I'm budgeted at 96. We haven't received the 96% yet. Statute requirement is 95. So if I budget at 96 and I don't receive all that, I've got to adjust someplace else to make up for it. If I stick to 95, I'm following statute requirements. So there's a guarantee on those funding. So I know the city has in past years, and I can tell you how many years back, has always budgeted at 96. But I would like to roll us, if it's at all possible, to a 95%. I think it sets us up for future recognition of the revenues in a better state. But we'll see where we are, and I'll bring that back to you in June, and that's a decision for the council to make. But that would be one change we would present. And then what we did is we looked at last year's cities, because at the end of the year we've noticed when Kelly went to look at all the other cities, there were some changes in millage rates. Some of the other cities adopted different millage rates in their final meetings. The city is at third lowest, 5.0434. Our devoted debt is separate, as you can see, everyone else's is also. But if you look at this total here, okay, which is just general city millage rate, and then the fire districts, these three cities here pay an equivalent millage rate, and that's how the contract is stated with the county at 2.3299. So this is the millage rate, they're all comparable to.
You know, Robin, I just got to say, when I look at that, it kind of jumps out at you. You know, that Oviedo is the third lowest. We kept our police, we kept our fire, we got more parkland than anybody. You know, we got tremendous services, great everything. Not that the other cities are not, but, you know, I'm just giving a little props to everybody because it just jumps out. You know, I hear all the time, you see all these tweets and all these blurbs about, you know, how wasteful we are. Well, there it is in writing. We're the third lowest with all of this stuff. And, you know, for somebody who pays $950 a year in city taxes, boy, do they get a lot for their money, you know?
And I will just discuss, so someone looking at this at home may not realize, the 950 is just the city. You
Right.
still have county, okay, so there are other taxes on your tax bill when you receive it, so don't expect it $951. There's your county amount, there's your school board, you know. it's
All right, no, you got all, but I'm just saying, for what the city charges, you have such a good value, you know? So what the city charges, we have excellent stuff.
Yes, sir.
Not like the county guys.
So it's just a summary of the millage rates and how they pertain to other cities, how the millage rate affects us as the budget. In this first one, how if we make a choice to, from the reduced GO bond, if we choose to take that debt millage and roll it into the city, how that will look. Just a summary of information so that you can see that. At the last meeting, I believe in March, we gave you a few other schedules that are still valid that talk about the GO, and if you roll that over, how in 15 years it becomes $1 million plus and that type of thing. So we'll bring that back to you in June, again, for your decision and to look at again to see if it makes sense or not. So, any questions on this information?
Good.
Good.
Like change music.
There you go. How about that music they, I think it's record. Yeah. I think I'm sorry, the stickers. Yeah.
Slow chicken.
Okay, attachment 4 is our health care. So we talked about that a while ago, and I told you that it's roughly $9,200 going on. What we did is we looked at the current year, 15-16, then we compared it to the 16-17 with a 10% increase. And then what we did is, okay, if we had capacity and the cost on, then what would that be? What would that look like? So we estimated if we passed on 10% to the employee, what the cost would be. And here we have city contribution, this is portion up here. So the city would still contribute 38 on a pay period basis and so forth down. But what the employee would contribute would be the $12.70 on a pay period basis or the $14 or the $26. Okay? And looking for my other schedules. Okay. That would be the total cost of that. What we also looked at is we looked at our baseline maintenance worker 2 makes $11.95 an hour. With a 2% raise, they will be somewhere around $12.15 rounded up. If I look at that increase on a biweekly basis to this 10%, they're still going to make out a few dollars, but it's very few dollars, okay? This in total here, that the city employees would have to pay is only $36,000. We would have some available trade-offs that if we choose not to have our employees pay that 10% for $36,000 that we can deal with that. Okay, but I wanted to show you if we were to pass that 10% on, what it would look like. I mean, that's a car. So we reduce our cars with the number down by 1 or something else. It's a choice you would have at that point in time. But we wanted to show you if we passed the 10% on what it would be versus if the city went ahead and absorbed it and adjusted something else. I'm not sure. I'm going to stop just a minute. Connie, Do you have anything that you would like to add on the health costs?
Robin, I have a question. I was waiting when you were doing the overview. On the health insurance, obviously we have the clinic, that's saving us lots of money, and we're self-insured, right? We take care of those catastrophic claims, everything ourselves. So the administrative Blue Cross and Blue Shield who's administering this all, when's the last time we actually looked at somebody else doing that? When I see 10% raise on health insurance, when I have this clinic taking care of almost 300 people, I know there's other things. Is it the prescriptions? Is it has anybody else looked at this? When's the last time we checked with all the other ones to see where we're at?
We actually, and I let Ms. Collins come up or Gary come up, but 2 years ago, I believe we went out for the contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. And our percent of increase is really based on claims.
Right.
Is what it boils down to is the claims. So I'll let the experts tell you that information.
Since we're self-funded, most of what you see as the increase is the cost of the claims going up. That 10% is as a result of the medical inflation. And unfortunately, we do really well over time in keeping those costs down because of our wellness program and the success of our clinic. But high-cost prescriptions continue to go up and continue to offset the savings that we're able to achieve. And I'd like to introduce Sean Fleming from the Gehring Group because he had recently done the analysis, the return on investment, and presented that to you. So there may be some additional insight that he can add.
Let me just ask you before Sean gets into this. So
Sure.
the 10% increase, that's what I figured, has to do with prescriptions and claims. My question for you is, the administrator of our plan, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, is their fee to us the same, or did they raise theirs 10% or whatever? They have the same fee?
They've had a contract with us, and there were some incremental over the life of the contract. I think the contract's been about 5 years.
I believe so.
And the administrative fees have increased over that 5-year period of time, but that is not the 10%.
Right, okay, so that's to be pointed out. So it's because
Yeah.
of the claims we've had and the
Yeah.
catastrophic things we've had here that's driving that.
And the and please jump in if you'd like. We buy excess insurance as well, so all of that has to be
Right.
figured in as
Now I
well
got it.
for
So
excess
Blue Cross
loss.
and Blue Shield is fine, it's the claims and the extra high-value prescription stuff we got that drove that 10%.
Yeah, and just to give you a little perspective, the fee to Blue Cross is about $54, and I can't remember the cents, but less than $55 out of the $772. So
Right.
even if you drive that cost down, ultimately
Yes.
you change from one carrier to another, the claims are still there.
Yeah.
So, but we did go out to bid on that two years ago. It'll be 3 years as of this renewal. So.
Yeah, so that's the key, it's the claim, it's not the administrator providing it, that's all I wanted to do.
Cost of doing
Make sure.
claims.
And all the other new medications.
That's
If
correct.
you see it during a golf tournament, that's probably the problem.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, Ryan, do you need a consensus or something for the next month for the June meeting on this, something this 10% increase for the employees rather than passing it on?
I think right now, obviously, at least my recommendation to you is not to pass it on to the employees. But if you're, I think at this point, it's more about direction on whether or not you're willing to consider it, or if you want us to actually, if you feel like we shouldn't, if you feel strongly that we shouldn't pass it on, then I would say that, and that gives us the direction, that sends us in one path. If you say, well, we're willing to consider it, then we'll take it into consideration as we move forward.
Well, we got 4 of us here. I say absorb it,
Absorb it. How about you, Steve?
Yes, absorb it.
Okay. We'll move that path, and we'll go on that.
And these are very quick, you see these. Thank you. The tax five is the cost of personnel. It's been in the budget book for many years. I'd just like to bring it as a reminder that our cost of our salaries for our personnel, the increases we've received over the past couple of years is reflected, as well as change in employees. You know, we have to believe in, and there's payouts in here, there's overtime, so when you look at this year, it's not just salaries, so that people are aware of that. Really also to look at our benefits, and you know, these here are just a little bit more than half of this, 270 plus thousand of the salary. So when you look at your package, any employee looks at their package, their benefit makes up a big amount of their salary in total that they may not realize. So. Attachment 6 and 7, they're just in there for your review. Is information and general information on the debt that I mentioned to you earlier. We just kind of like to show how the debt's split out, you know, where it's going, and the funds. Again, these schedules are part of the budget book. I referenced them in the memo so that you can look online if you wish to compare it. We're giving you an idea of future 16, 17. Ms. Jones spends a lot of time on our debt, working the budget and the finance side of debt. So we have one person concentrating on working our debt, and it's been a huge improvement for myself and the finance division. And you know, if you look on the schedule, the details, you'll see the Siemens loan, Siemens leases coming off in a couple of years. We have a little bit of debt coming off next few years, but you can follow the schedules, detail enough to where anyone can look at that. So we just kind of want to bring that out. This here is the governmental funds, and the second page here that I have attachment number 8 is the business pipelines. So we have both of those available. If you were to have any questions on those, we'd be glad to answer those for you. From a direction perspective, I understand I'll bring back to you the Oviedo Park Culture Center and the events for the June meeting, so we'll bring that back to you. The direction of the Assistant City Manager or the Public Information Officer, is there any input on that and what you'd like for us to take at this point in time? Right now, it is included in the budget. Would you like us to leave it in the budget for both positions? I will tell you that Ms. Bigelow will be retiring possibly this year or next year, so this position will become an award. Yeah. And as much as I hate to see her, she's going to enjoy retirement like that.
Wait, we didn't approve that.
I'm not sure that's my call. But this position is a similar position.
The PIO, you know, I'll say true. One of the things that we don't do well at the Bacon Bourbon Blues is, you know, we really have to look at, we have, as part of the PIO, part of the Gale stuff is the websites and all those, you know, every one of our other internet areas that we hit, social medias, you know, that's a thing that can get us, you know, social media with a hashtag, Bacon Bourbon Blues, I mean, if we really start utilizing those things, you know, that's something. When we were at the conference that Orlando, I think at that time had at least 25, I was going to say 13 plus people over 25 different departments, etc., and really start looking, how should we utilize this? Because that's an area sitting there, taking pictures, forcing the hashtag out, forcing this stuff out. Again, it helps for the next one and the next one and the next one, and food trucks and things like that. It helps drive all those things. So, you know, that's an area we really have to start thinking ahead of in that position. And it's not, may not be just a simple PIO. It may really, what do we really want out of that position? Is it going to be a PIO, the guy that stands in front and goes, well, today, you know, whatever? Or are we really looking for someone
To be proactive.
to drive the data out?
Quite honestly, and Robin and I have talked a little bit about this, and we haven't finalized anything, but I frankly would rather see us move toward more of the social media type than what you would call the traditional PIO who works with the press and sends out press
Are you
releases and all
telling me I'm
that.
going to have to sign up for Facebook? It's the only way I'm going to get information now. Come
Oh,
on.
no, we have
Instagram. Go to the others. Go to Instagram.
we have more outlets, than that.
Jimmy found
But-
that we created a
Go to
hashtag.
Twitter and that's like, you know, if you Twitter,
Because it
you'll
really-
get everything, you won't have to respond.
It's not so much about having press conferences and about pushing out press releases for programs. Now it's about attracting. It's about attracting people. And so using those types of media, I really think we should move more in that direction than we should traditional PIO.
I think we need that too.
Leave it up to you, you still got that 2% deficit to work with. If you can absorb it and pull off the PIO, I think that'd be really good to go on with. But you got, that's, you got to do.
Right. We still have some things to look at.
My recommendation would be keep them in the budget. Give me the opportunity to try to fund them. I wasn't able to do it last year, but I see them as needs, and I think I'd like the opportunity to try to fund them.
Robin, I have a quick question, and I'll weigh in on those two things. This 573,000 that you've so expertly got down from $1 million at our last month, do you see with any other trimming of what you have here, or are you thinking that rest of that's going to have to come from fund balance based on what you hear from David Johnson?
What you see here does not include any capital outlay costs. It includes no new personnel, and it includes no transfers from CIP. So to tell you that there's a trimming, I couldn't even tell you that we're at a final, because we're not. So trimming, we'll continue to look at the departments that we haven't looked at yet. At this point, it's a revenue gain. What am I going to receive from the county and from the property appraiser, and what are we going to receive from the state? We don't know the half cent, we don't know communications, we don't know, the share, state share. So those are the big ticket items.
Well, I would just tend to weigh in on both of it, because it's kind of like every time we see it on the budget sheet, these two positions, we all kind of like sidestep it. So here's the deal. I talked to Brian about this today. We need an assistant city manager. You already do it, so you have my vote. Sorry, Brian. I'm just throwing that out there. You're already doing the job, plus you're doing your other job, so we need that. And, look, the world is social media now. Everybody who's good at it, that's how we get out there and get ourselves in there. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I find myself at a disadvantage because people aggravate me on Facebook. I delete it all the time. But if you're not there, you don't find out what's going on. So I think both of those, for us moving forward, are important.
I think that if we want the community center to be successful, the amphitheater, I think that's what we need. We need, Drew, you do a good job, but we need help out there. We need to get the word out, yes, we do, and we have to do it in a more professional way. So I think that position needs to stay in there, maybe be a little bit more redefined.
Can I just say one other thing? Your unfunded positions too, is you have 2 police officers in there. Do we fund those? I heard we have to.
These are funded.
Okay.
Because they're from the general fund, and we will assume that they roll over. So those, we don't discard those.
Is that what we need this budget? Just
Yes.
those 2? We're good?
Well, I have other requests from each of the departments. We have our prioritization meeting as per the council direction on March 28th to take back with the city manager on June the 7th. Look at all the positions, look at all the capital, look at CIP, and prioritize them and fit them in the schedule according to funding. So we will bring you the position requests prioritized at the June 27th meeting.
Robert, do we still have the promoter position in the budget? The promoter, or whatever you want to call it? The events coordinator, yes. That's still in the budget?
Oh.
Are we anywhere close to hiring someone?
We, as you all know, the last person that we were actually offering the job to decided to take another position. So we're out on the recruiting trail again. And we're going to continue to search and refine. Last time we refined the job description a little bit, and we got more responses. And so each time we learn a little bit more. One of the things we learned is that this nature of person, they're not people that stick around very long. They move to the next great challenge. And I know one resume we looked at, the lady had actually had a different job every year for the last 7 years. So, I mean, it's a different type of person that we're dealing with, and so we're learning about this.
Yeah.
Well,
Are we offering
so,
enough
but
money?
again,
we're-
is it something that we could, do we start looking at partnering and just like we're doing the golf course, or looking at the golf course? Handing off 7 events and or whatever, listen, we want to do these 7 events.
Right.
We can handle the events we've handled for X years and do the events. I mean, that's you guys' decision, but that's...
No, we are
that's
looking
enough,
at that. We're looking at that as well because of the relationship that we've built with Sublime, the relationship that we've built with a couple of the radio stations that we have right now. I mean, one of the things that, just to pat Mr. Bowler on the back, people are actually coming to us now, and they're approaching him to do.
I'm sure it's going to be...
So we're starting to develop our niche.
Getting our name
And so
right.
he's actually being contacted. He's not having to go out and cold call. People are calling him now.
Yeah.
And they're looking at these types of arrangements. So, one of the things that we've done this year was working with some nonprofits as well, where they brought in the entertainment and we shared in the revenues with them. And so looking at that as well. So yes, sir, we are looking in the mix.
When Oviedo on the Park finally gets a couple of restaurants, eventually we get a hotel in town, and I mentioned to Drew and to you, I was at a concert last week with a band that has multiple songs on Billboard, and I got to talking to them and showed them a few pictures. That's like better than any place we ever play. How do we get to play this? So I think when it's all done, it becomes a jewel. It becomes, something that you won't have to worry about the budget. People will pay for tickets to come out. You'll do your free shows. You'll have your higher end ticket stuff. So, we're certainly on the right track. But we got to get Drew some help. He needs a vacation.
Okay, last couple of things. Administrative fee, I bring to you each year a couple different times. I did bring a couple copies today. If any of you would like a copy of it, a hard copy, but we'll bring it back to you in June. Ask for your input again, and then bring it back in August. We'll bring it back to you one more time. I encourage you to look at that. Some of these are fees like Culture Center, renting the park. It could be any kind of fee. It could be a development fee. It could be a cost for fire services. So if you have any questions on them, if you'll look at those and bring those questions back to us for June 27th, that would be helpful.
Can I just say one thing on those fees, just to think about between now and the next meeting? Looking at them all, there's lots of things we charge for. The only thing I would just say to all of you, and I know we do that because we strive to do it. I mean, sometimes developers come in here, they don't like it. As long as you're covering your cost, and that's what it is. That's what it is. I think when you get to the point where the fees are so excessive, that why are you charging that much? But as long as we can document that this is what it costs the city of Oviedo to do it, and it's laid out very clearly and transparent, then I think it's fine.
We have done that.
Yeah.
The department has spent time going through to make sure that the cost, just our cost.
Yeah.
But we look at it each time too. We think there's something that's happened.
Right.
So the administrative fees there. And then the final thing is the website. We actually have the RFP prepared. We will bring that to you in June for your review. So it'll be part of the package, just so that you can review it. I hope to, if there's no questions, at the June 27th, release it to our purchasing agent for her to post it. I think it's July 3rd is the next Sunday. And then it'll go out for 30 days. It does include, a mobile app. It includes updating, upgrading. It is with a budget of $43,000. But we found several contracts out there for about that dollar amount. We tried to piggyback a couple of them, but the companies they selected were not familiar with us, or we were not familiar with them, I should say. So we decided to go ahead and just create the RFP. So we do have that ready. We'll bring it to you just so that you can review it. If you have questions, definitely.
Do you have this on a PDF? You could email us?
Yes, sir.
Electronically? Could you send that? Thanks.
And I have nothing else. If you have questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Good.
Steve?
Good presentation.
I think we need to start sheriff sometime. I'm the one that's going to start coming to have the sheriff.
Okay. The resource officer?
No, the sheriff's department, what they're, charging us and the charges.
Oh, okay, for dispatch.
Dispatch.
Okay.
And that's part of our budget.
I know
so
that's a
we'll
big
separate it out.
discussion at mayor's managers, and I think we need to, it's disparate along everybody. It's not.
Oh, yeah, it's not equitable. I know
Yeah,
that.
it's not equitable, and it goes up, and
Well, Brian.
And it's going to continue going
and
up.
it's going to continue going up.
I've always had a problem with the fact that we pay for that, I guess, I have a problem that we pay for that out of our general funds versus like they do the fire service fee. They get a separate line item that we add on, and, you know, we do some military or whatever, but to show that's what you're getting from the county, and this is what you're paying for. Like, similar to the fire service fee. Because right now it's invisible, no one knows where that's.
Yeah, put it in the millage. Yeah.
Right.
Bring it out of the millage number for us.
Okay? That's easy.
You know, just, Robin, it's something else just to bring up, and whenever you get the details, but somewhere along the line here, whether it's this year, or hopefully it'll be this year, we can get the ball rolling. We need a new police station. You know, Lars was gracious to give us all the tour of the new place. The fire department's good, but these guys are over there, and, you know, I can only equate it to listening to an 8-track in today's times. We gotta do something over there. They don't have enough space. It's just not what a city of Oviedo should be projecting.
I'm going to be the mayor and say something. Okay, we need to do visioning. I'm going to now stop being the mayor, but I'm just going to throw that out.
Well, you could bring up the visioning again, you know, if there's 3 that wants to do it now, then we could do it, but that, we do need that, you know?
We have the assessment
Right.
to bring to you as part of, if that's what you wish to fund this year, or,
The assessment's gonna look at all the options and tell us.
right, and we've had the study complete, it was not budgeted, so at the direction of council, you know, we can bring that as an agenda item to you to fund through the use of some type of funds, and we haven't looked into that. I don't recall the exact amount, Brian, 143?
I don't remember the amount. We have
Well,
a
just
firm,
we
we
got
have a
a-
firm selected. We
We
went
have a
through
firm
this,
selected.
we went through the RFQ process, and we have a firm selected to do the assessment, and a comprehensive assessment. And, but we just, we wanted to do it last year, we just couldn't find the funding for it.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
One more little thing, again, when the golf guys come by, you know, we have no money budgeted for that, for anything this year, to take over a golf course and the process therein, evaluating where we are now, et cetera, and for the few months of next year, you know, what it might take, or if we're going to run it, or, you know, or anything, well, how much it's going to
Well, one of the
cost
things,
us.
we've reached out to the golf course owners, and we've asked for access to the general manager and to their budgets. And the owners have been very gracious to, we're going to sit down with us and go through their budgeting process. And I explained to them our fiscal year begins in October. We don't do a calendar year. And that we have to look at basically 3 quarters, you know, and looking at revenue projections, looking at the cost, all the different types of costs that go into it. They said yes, and so we're arranging that meeting so that we can, and then we'll bring it to you during one of our work sessions.
And that's going to be an enterprise fund. It's going to be, you know, revenue generated, so it will not be part of the general fund. It will be an enterprise fund.
Well,
Yes.
I'm there with you.
There'll be revenue
well, you know, one
generated.
thing about it, though, and it was just something that I was thinking about today, is that even setting up an enterprise fund, we still have to throw seed money
to seed
into
it.
it.
Yeah,
We have to
that's what I'm
seed
saying.
it
Seed
to get it started.
But I'm just talking about getting us there, like I said.
Right.
You know, the process that we're in now, hey, your time is money. I'm a guy who we sometimes forget, taking your time to go sit over there and then take 5, 10, 20, 30, 100 hours to evaluate this and get it done. And not just evaluating the books and figuring out, can we make money on it and how?
Right.
Versus, what's the condition a month and a half ago, and is it going to stay that way, and how do we keep it that way in 8.5 months or 8 months?
Exactly.
Right.
What they were talking about, I agree with them exactly, you know, that kind of thing, because we're going to take it over 9 months, and, you know, do we want to pay a little, or what might it cost us now versus what it's going to cost us in 8 months when we get it, and say, oh, this isn't, exactly.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that
So
we were...
again, you know, those guys were here continuing talks with them,
Yes.
finding out what, again, that we might be changing our budget this year a little bit.
Yes.
to say there might be a consultant fee to help us evaluate what we have, and then maybe add to the budget. What do we need for those first 3 months, besides the 3/4 of the year that we're going to own it for? But what's those first 3 months of transferring going to really cost us?
Exactly.
And things, because I don't see that anywhere. I know Drew's not done yet, and I understand that's going to be in there, but
I anticipate the August work session will have golf for next year, the Twin Rivers. And then I expect that we'll have to bring to council an agenda item for this year at some point in the very near future.
When we met with them, my ears did perk up when he said, we can help you get to day one.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Implement
and
inventory.
that was-
oh, yeah, exactly.
That was something that I saw.
And not just the
very
cars,
helpful.
but everything.
Yes.
Yes. It was something I thought was very helpful.
Anything else, as the mayor says, for the good of the order? Still fine. I love people.
Good.
All righty, adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.